Hi, this is your professor, Judy Paparozzi. Welcome to Human Trafficking and Slavery, what I call the hardest class you'll ever love. And by the end of this semester, you'll understand it's not because of the workload, but it's because of the emotional impact this class will have on you. And it's my intention at the end of this class that will all have developed not only an expertise in human trafficking, but a passion for fighting this through whatever careers that you decide to go into, whether in criminal justice or sociology. I'm so proud of my students and what I've seen over the years, including several who have gotten involved on a national level, and one here in North Carolina who actually has a non-governmental organization, an NGO, that fights human trafficking and helps victims. I'm just really, really pleased with what I've seen my students do over the years after they become impassioned in this course. So, what is human trafficking and slavery? This course is about the modern day crime that we are seeing worldwide in every town and community in the United States and around the world, of people who are sold into sex slavery or sold into labor trafficking or victims of all the various types of human trafficking that you will learn about in this course. This is a course that is going to be emotionally impactful on a lot of you. Many of my students have talked about crying after viewing videos and so forth. I usually don't use a lot of videos, but a picture is worth 1,000 words, and in this class you will see a little bit more videos. However, that doesn't mean we don't have a great textbook and many things that I can introduce you to so you really develop an expertise in human trafficking. So let me tell you a little bit about myself, and you can see it in the syllabus. And please don't be overwhelmed in this class. All you have to do is send me an email, judith.paparozzi@uncp.edu, and I will explain everything. So before we even get into who I am, because I want to talk a little bit about human trafficking, let me tell you about the 4 course requirements. So this is writing enhanced, and it's an ICC certified class. So when you leave, you'll have 2 certifications for writing enhanced, and you'll also have the Indigenous Communities and Cultures certification. Both will benefit you for graduating. So you have both of those as a result of this class. And I am a great writer, a great grammarian, and I will work very hard to make you better writers as well. So please don't take my feedback on your writing as an insult. I'm trying to help my students all be better writers because that's a great, great skill to have going into any career. So the 4 course requirements. The first one is we're going to be reading this very important annual report. We're not reading the whole thing. We're going to read about 10 countries that I have chosen over the years. I actually may switch them this year because I've changed textbooks this year. But we're going to be looking at 10 countries and how those countries have reacted to trying to protect victims, trying to prosecute perpetrators, and 3 Ps: protection, prosecution, and prevention, and how the efforts of the country at preventing human trafficking. So there's 3 Ps. The Trafficking Victims Protection Act is the law of our land since 2000 about fighting and preventing human trafficking and slavery in our country. Okay, so this very big federal act, the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, is the law of our land, as I said. Within that law, there is a provision that every country in the world be analyzed and evaluated so that we can decide whether or not we are going to continue to fund that country's projects and whatever. Because as you know, we are like Big Brother out there, not Big Brother, but Big Helper out there, and we help many countries in the world. So there's something called the Trafficking in Persons Report. So for example, Ethiopia will produce a trafficking in persons report every year. Italy, the United States, Russia, China, North Korea, etc. And the person is asked to go in and evaluate for the United States, believe it or not, and most countries cooperate with us, evaluate its response and in terms of protecting, preventing, and prosecuting it within the crime of human trafficking. Okay, so if a country does really well, like the United States, and meets all the minimum standards, it gets a tier 1, the highest tier, the best tier. The second tier, tier 2, these countries are trying, but they still haven't really worked out the problems that they're facing with human trafficking, or there's been an increase in human trafficking, etc. That country would be rated as a tier 2. There's a tier 2 watch list, which is like this probationary list of countries that are really not working hard and are creating there's more problems that have been created. but it's tried in the past, so it's a tier 2 watch list. And then the worst is a tier 3. Russia, China, North Korea are always tier 3 because human rights violations in those countries are off the scale, and trafficking victims are treated like horribly. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do, and a skill that you're going to develop, is you're going to read a section of this Trafficking in Persons report, the TIP report, as you'll hear me refer to it, capitalized TIPR, TIP report, capitalize that R, and you're going to evaluate it according to 5 or 6 questions that I pose in a template. So you're going to do 10 of those in the semester. And honestly, my students, at first they may say, oh my goodness, this is a little tough. You're not writing a paper. You're evaluating it and you're writing it in a template, much like government documents require you to do, but you have to write in perfect, excellent grammar, excellent punctuation, etc., and answer my questions. I will offer a seminar on how to do this on Monday, August 26th at 7 p.m. It'll be via Zoom or WebEx, I don't know yet, but you'll have a link, and it'll be recorded just in case you have a work conflict or a class conflict. But it's mandatory to at least attend or watch the video, because then you'll be lost and you'll be writing me all semester, I don't know what I'm doing. And so we're going to do 10 of those reports, 10 of those summaries, and that's half of your grade, 50%. Each of the summary of the 10 of them is worth 5 points, so 50%. Okay, I don't really care about exams because you can open your book and just, it's open book exam, so I don't really care about it. So your midterm and your final are only worth 5%. The main part of the class for me is the discussions. I am a professor, and you can read my student evaluations on Rate My Professor. I'm on those discussions all the time. I will be on there at least till Thursday night, Friday morning. After that, as far as I'm concerned, I've been on it all week. I'm not going to spend 40 hours on it, but I am on there constantly. I will respond to every single person. Not every time you post, but I will respond to your post. I don't grade you. It is meant to be a conversation. I want you all to be friends at the end of the semester. I want you to realize your professor is in there talking to you and working with you throughout the semester. So again, there's 4 parts to the course. The 10 summaries is the first, midterm 5%, final 5%, and 40% is your class participation on the discussions. Come on early, come on often, and it's not a homework posting board. Yes, you're going to be answering questions, but that's so that you reinforce what you've read, so I know that you've read the material. And so please get on often, get on early and often. So Monday, Tuesday, and this semester is a little bit different because for the first time, I've changed the textbook in 14 years. One of the speakers at my every conference I've had at UNC Pembroke, which I'll talk to you about in a second, I want to tell you about myself. He wrote this book with another woman, but his name is Bill Wolf. I will have Bill Wolf videos up during the semester. It is phenomenal. The last textbook I had was great, but it was from 2010. It was dated. This is current information. It just came out this year. Bill is a great friend of mine. He's like a son to me because I'm 70. He's like a son to me, but he knows more about human trafficking in this country, other than one other person, than anybody else in this country. And so we're going to be using his textbook. So I will be outlining the chapters for you. So you're not going to see the class opened up all at once as I normally do. You're going to see the class open up over the semester because I have 10 chapters to outline in a 300-page book. But when I tell you this is the best book I've read on human trafficking, this guy, there's so many stories of victims in here. It's unbelievable. It's a great book, Eradicating Human Trafficking. And of course, I ordered it in the spring for this semester. Okay, so we're going to be using this textbook. I will be adding an outline for chapter 1 is going to be already on the course when you see this video. Hopefully chapter 2 will be done by then, but that's like 70, 80 pages. And I do really, really good outlines, which you can use as study guides for your test, because that's where I'll be taking the test questions from. This has no test with it. I'm going to create all the tests. So it's going to be in the outlines. That's exactly where I'm going to pull them from. So you read these. So this is what you do in the week. You read the outline that I've prepared. You read the textbook and annotate your outline. Write little notes in your outline if there's things you want to remember. And then you come on the discussions and you read the question. Now, a lot of the discussions are going to be based on videos, but they're also going to be based on the textbook. But you'll have an outline. By the way, a great study technique is read the outline to the course, okay? Just read it all the way through so you get a sense of where you're going to be going in the chapter. Then when you read the chapter, it takes half the time to read the chapter because it's all been outlined for you. And that's why you write the little notes down if there's anything you want to remember, okay? And then you're done. And then you come on the discussion. There'll probably be one question, one question for the readings, maybe two. I have to say maybe even more than that. But there'll also be a video, at least one video. Now with the videos, if it's mandatory, I'll tell you, the rest of them are just if you want to learn more about human trafficking, okay? You can watch the videos. Okay, I don't want this to be too long because it is an introduction and I'm really excited to teach it another semester, but I'm super excited about the new book that I'm using this semester, Eradicating Human Trafficking. By the way, this is a book you could give as a gift. I mean, it will teach anybody who's interested so much. It doesn't feel like a textbook either, a little bit, but not really. Okay, not your standard textbook at all. Okay, who am I? So I am a practitioner who has become an academic. Actually, I've been both most of my adult life. I have an undergraduate degree in criminal justice and social work. I have a graduate degree in working in teaching in prisons. It's a social restoration degree, and I have a law degree, and I specialized in criminal law. I started working in prisons at 18. I worked in prisons for almost 15 years in New Mexico, running programs, volunteer programs in Pennsylvania as a teacher, and in New Jersey, where I'm originally from, as a working in parole. I decided to go to law school because I wanted to be able to, have flexibility in my career, staying with my children when they were born. They were born when I was in my 30s. Anyway, I went to law school at night while working full time in the prison system. And once my children were, I became a prosecutor for about 5 or 6 years. And after being a prosecutor, my first son was born. So I stayed home with my children. I worked as a criminal defense lawyer, a public defender, and a municipal and prosecutor, municipal public defender. Why do I tell you all this? I'm not bragging. I'm telling you all this because in 31 years in the criminal justice system, I finished in 2003, I had never seen a crime like human trafficking. This is the worst crime I've ever seen. Why? Because it involves all crimes. So you can have one criminal, but he can commit rape, assault, kidnapping, false imprisonment, he can horrible crimes against one victim as opposed just to a rapist or somebody kills you, or it can commit murder. So many crimes wrapped up in one, and the trauma to the victim is the worst I've ever seen. And I've seen some horrible crimes. My work has actually even taken me to work, do clemency hearings, clemency cases on death row. And I worked in a prison that had a death row in it many times, several times, excuse me. I kind of have seen it all between working in prisons and being a prosecutor, but this is the worst crime I've ever seen in my life. So I take it very seriously. And thanks to the inspiration of a student in 2015, she said to me, Professor Paparuzzi, we really need to open up and educate the public about human trafficking. So why don't you offer conferences? And I was like, oh, okay, more work. But of course, I'm an adjunct, so I did have the free time. And luckily, my husband worked in the department as well. And he approved these conferences. So since 2015, I have offered one conference on human trafficking every academic year. My last one was in March of 2024. My next one will be sometime this year. I don't know what. I haven't really determined the topic. But two of those have been virtual, and I've recorded that, two or three. And I've recorded them, and part of this will be for you to go and see some of the conferences. Honestly, I've brought in victims, survivors. I brought in law enforcement. I've brought in members of Congress, state legislators, experts on human trafficking, people who are actually running NGOs that help victims right now, including a former student of mine who has one here in North Carolina. So I'm very passionate about this topic. I hope you will be passionate too, and welcome to the hardest class you'll ever love.